Good morning, Enchanted Sisters. It's Sarah here, along with my trusty sidekick, Nick. Apparently not speaking today.
Silent.
We're
I'm
talking
astrology
today astrology. I'm going to share this into our group. Share it to a group. We are going to share it to the Sisters Enchanted posted. We're talking astrology and compatibility today. So we'll just chat randomly while people join us. Did you want to pull those things up on the computer?
That would be a good idea.
Nick and I didn't plan this out beforehand. We're not gonna be able to see the comments. We should have thought
Maybe
about
I should
this.
just pull it up on my computer.
I'll get that. You stay
Yeah,
there.
that'd be a good idea. How you guys doing today?
There you go. Nick walked in the door right as we were starting, so we're unprepared.
I had to have a conversation at my muggle job.
Good morning, Renee and Christina. Yeah, Nick's still on the muggle train part of the day. Hi, Jessica. We're just getting ourselves situated. So one of the questions and things that we hear a lot and people ask us, and turns out I was doing some research and people search on the internet is compatibility. Like, what are the best signs for, a Libra or a Gemini or like whatever your sign is, and people want to know what's the best sign to go with them. And so what we're going to do today is have a little bit of fun with this, and we're going to look at Team Sisters Enchanted. So hey, Jen and Shelly and Stephanie. So we have Nick, me, Anna, Nikki, and Danielle all in our little posse here these days. And so we're going to look at compatibility. Of course, you can use compatibility for the romance, but we're going to look at compatibility just in general and see where people might come in conflict, where you work well together.
Why I can't stand Sarah.
Is that true? And so you can use the same principles, though, when looking at romance or when looking at your children, like how you interact with your children, your spouses, your coworkers, which is pretty much the example we're going to give here. So we're going to give some examples of this stuff. And up in the description of this video, you can hit the link and check out the 8 free videos Nick and I recorded. They're all really short. And one of them, we talk about compatibility. We talk about timing, degrees, your sun sign, your rising sign, and also the 2019 retrograde chart is up there at that link. So make sure to click that and grab all those goodies.
Where should we start?
All right, so let's recap quick about so we did do a video about this recently. We recorded one. But the kind of the pros and cons of let's talk about maybe the common misconceptions around compatibility. So I was looking yesterday, and Nick and I are rocking our coffee mugs this morning. I just saw him about to reach for his. I was looking yesterday, and people, one of the things people look for is best matches for, and then your sun sign. So why is that, Nick? Actually not the question we want to ask.
Because the sun is just our ego. It's like the part of us that says me, right? And how that kind of gets fulfilled and how that's secure, how secure I am. You can tell, by sun signs how they match up and how secure we'll make each other, but there's so much more. There's the whole emotional needs and what you need to feel emotionally fulfilled. There's the whole what makes you feel loved. What do you desire from a partner? Yeah. And so
there's the whole picture. Your sun is your ego. So I think that's important because it's our ego that's really interacting with people, and they're feed my ego. But your subconscious, your inner self is your moon. And so it's how you processing what you're receiving. And then your soul's desire, everything together is your rising sign. And it's that journey your soul wants to go on. So you can't just look at your ego, because your ego might be fed by somebody. If you look and you're best match for a Libra or something like that, and you get somebody that, you get, I don't know, another Libra maybe, I don't know, but that might feed your ego, but then how is your soul being fed, and how is your subconscious processing that? So it might not be the best puzzle piece.
And there's also, some things that we'll go over where you can tell just by the way that things are angled, how well everything works.
No whispering.
By the well that how things are angled, you can tell how well things are going to work.
And then I have to edit all the videos to raise his tone up. It's okay. Just no whispering. Angie's rocking her mug too. Morning, Michelle. So Jennifer says, what about when they're both the same? Double Cancer. So we'll talk. That's kind of what we just talked about. Like, you know, that it might feed your ego, but there's all the other pieces too. And then like we can look at it and see like fire and water don't mix, right? Like those don't. And so you can look at compatibility on so many levels. Like if you're a fire sign, like my husband and I are both fire signs. My daughter's a water sign, but so that can be like some trouble there. And then looking at yourself too and how you relate to other people. My rising's a water sign. My sun, my ego is a fire sign. So that's just like my soul and my ego are at odds.
Well, and what's interesting is that with compatibility, sometimes the things that you think are challenges actually are necessary, right? If two people are in a relationship and they don't change ever, nothing's ever going to happen, and they're just the way that they've always been if they still need to transform their soul.
Yeah. So let's get to the fun stuff and give some examples of this.
Oh, great.
Nikki says you need a gaming headphone mic. You have one.
I do have a gaming headphone mic. Oh no, I would never wear that here. Be like here with like.
Hear you. Okay. If Nick starts whispering, lean in. He's saying something good.
Great.
He just doesn't want you to hear it.
All right, so where are we going to start? What are we going to start with, guys?
Sandy. Okay, so let's look at, I can't even hold the fire. Yeah, it's all water. I know. Okay, so let's look at, I think, yeah, this is a lot of stuff. Do you have Danielle's up too?
No.
I sent it to you in Slack.
Yes, I'll have to go.
Okay, so we're going to look at a generalization of like how our egos, I guess. Well, you want to start with egos? Does that make sense?
Sure.
And how we work together as a team. So remember, we're giving an example of us here. So this is listening to what we're doing, what we're talking through. It's kind of how you would look at your own chart in those people in your family or coworkers or whoever, and look at these same pieces.
And now, I know Sarah's chart. I know my chart. I know Anna's chart. I know a little bit about Nikki's. I don't know much about Danielle's, but we haven't actually looked at these things.
Yeah, this is all like on
fresh.
The fly. So you're seeing it in real time here. Nick has not, we did no preparation. Nick walked in the door, sat down, and we started.
I'm trying to remember if you sent it to me.
It did. If you probably search Danielle, it should pop up in yours. Yeah. So Alicia says, my husband's air really knows how to raise my fire. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Yeah. Katerina, my sun is Capricorn. My rising and moon are all Cancer. So Earth,
it didn't work for me.
Right, and water. Well, I can pull it up
it's
on
probably
here.
Just up here.
I'll look for it. You start talking about us.
Some of the things I just sent to Sarah.
So Nick, okay, we're going to talk egos first.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
We'll start there.
So Sarah is a Sagittarius, and Anna is a Virgo. Both are mutable signs, but they square each other, right? So there's challenges there. There's things that they have to work through. Sarah wants to go, and Anna wants to, being a Virgo, Sarah's a Sagittarius, Anna's a Virgo. Being a Virgo, Anna wants to like stop, think about it. How can I organize my ideas? What can I do to perfect the way that I'm going to do this before I actually do it? Sarah's like, why isn't it done already? And then me being an Aquarius, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, but you got a good idea over there, Sarah. I like what you're going, but you're not planning. And there's a bigger picture going on here. And Anna, I like what you're doing, but you really need to get started. And then, I'm like the Aquarius that likes to look at the big picture and tries to bring everything into one, even though I'm not really doing anything either.
Yeah, in our group conversations, Nick is still talking long after I've moved on to something else. And Anna's just sort of catching up.
And then you have Nikki running around in circles, all of us, being another Sagittarius. And then what was Danielle's sign?
So she's over here.
She's she's a Gemini, so that's great. So she's very communicative. She likes to talk, and she's
a cusper though, right?
She is a cusper. She's almost in the Cancer. How can I take care of people? And if you look at the way that our conversations go, she's always like chiming in that like one like liner of like, yeah, that's great, nice job.
Yeah,
like with your,
she's like
taking care with your words.
Yeah. So our egos, this is like all of our forward stuff. I'm the like driver, let's do things. Nick wants to see the big picture, and he's like, wait, guys, wait, let's map this out. Anna's like, I need to see the whole map. Like, and then Nikki is pretty much just running with me, and she's just like, I got you all, I got everybody. And Danielle is our cheerleader, who just bumps in and is like, go team, that was a great thought. Excellent. I like that thought too. You're all doing great. And that's how Danielle comes in. So in a team environment, you can see we have like all these different aspects sort of covered, because we have the person who's thinking things through. We have the person who's like, in a good way, holding us down. Anna's like really grounding us, because she's like, you guys, you need to come here and explain it to the people that aren't fire. You have Nikki and I that are just like, pow, 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 we got everything. And then you've got Danielle, like really just making sure everybody feels good, which is awesome. And that's our ego stuff. So on the outwards, we really have some good bases
and really, you think about like just the element, right? You're fire, Nikki's fire, I'm air. And like, that's the way our conversations go, is I feel like I'm always feeding you two like different things. Like you guys will say something and I'll answer and I'll react. And then Anna will be, like you said, is on the tail end of it. She's that earth, you know, bringing everything, grounding everything. And then Danielle kind of the words throwing water, because she's that cusp, that air.
Yeah, she's
cusp
barely
of water.
a Gemini.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, very, barely a Gemini. And she's got tons of stuff in Cancer.
Yes,
so
she does.
I can see where she'd be more Cancer-y.
Yes.
Than Gemini-y. So that's our ego stuff. So on the outward, that's kind of like what we're seeing all the time.
Right.
So when you're looking at your own families, your own relationships, you can look at like your sun signs and just see, you know, who's doing what, which can help you to take pause. Because I know that like Anna, if she hasn't like done something that we were like, I talked about this 3 weeks ago, I don't understand what the problem is. I understand it though. And Nick will be there being like, no, well, we knew everybody needed direction, you know. And then Nikki she usually sides with me, because we're both Sagittariuses. We both have Sagittarius stelliums, which is a whole other conversation. So Nikki's just like I'm on going to bear train. So like we have our ego, like, we see it pretty well. But where the wrench gets thrown in can be when our soul selves, which is our rising selves, or our moon signs,
right,
our internal selves, that when those come out, because like that will come out to play in a relationship when it's not being nurtured, but you don't always see that it needs to be nurtured, where I think we really miss out on conversations around compatibility.
Well, the moon is more important definitely than the sun in compatibility.
Yeah, because that's the thing that comes out to like bite when it's not getting.
They say that the moon is more our personality than our actual sun sign is.
So I think it's how you react under pressure.
Right, absolutely.
That's, you know, when you're backed into a corner, how you're going to react is your moon sign,
like
not your
for
sun
instance,
sign.
when you're going, and Anna's like, I just need to sit back and plan, and Anna starts feeling insecure about that, her moon is going to react.
Yeah.
Or for me, the same thing.
Yeah, well, all of us, like that's what happens when
Yeah.
you backed into a corner. It's your moon that comes out, not your ego self. It's your like knee-jerk fight or flight reaction.
Nick, you need to stop thinking about the big picture and just do the things.
Yeah.
Oh no, what do I do with that?
Yeah, that's always my comment. Stop thinking. Which is interesting because my moon's an Aquarius and your sun's Aquarius. So
at least there's like commonality. You get it.
Right. So we look at compatibility on the surface, right? And we see our sun signs, which you're all probably familiar with. And you're all chiming in like, I'm a Leo, my husband's are this, my kids are this. And we all see it like in our daily interactions. But how do we act when we're backed into a corner? And how does that impact how you work together and how you're compatible with other people? So we'll give the example of us. So
what's interesting is that we're doing,
talked this through before,
and we're doing 5 people, like in compatibility.
Which is what you do with the family, though. Like if you
Right.
lived, you know, if you're looking at your whole house,
It's definitely easier though to look at person to person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so
I put Nick on the spot today with this.
Yes, so I am a Libra moon. Sarah's an Aquarius moon. Anna's a Capricorn moon, and Nikki is a Virgo moon, I believe.
I think so. Didn't we talked about this recently? Where is it on here? Let's pull it up.
Danielle is a Cancer moon.
Whenever we have hard days, we all get on our work chat. We're like, Nick, why?
Oh, Nikki's a Pisces moon. That's right. So
Nikki's wife is a Virgo, I think. I think that's where we got the Virgo from.
I think she's a Virgo rising too.
Oh, okay.
But okay, so Sarah's moon reacts in a way that she's an Aquarius moon. So she wants everybody to feel like they're on the same page, even though she probably has other things going on there that's making her angrier.
Stop whispering.
Well, because I say that I whisper because I don't
want to be my anger self. You don't want to anger my sun sign. Don't anger my ego.
My moon is in Libra, so it's all about balancing. So I'm saying, okay, well, Sarah's being fair, but so is the other person. Everybody's fair. Everybody just deserves to just be right. Can't just everyone just be right. And then if I get, somehow suppressed or insecure, then I'm definitely want to push back and say, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then Anna is a Capricorn moon. So when she has that tendency to, especially with Sarah coming at her, or me coming at her saying, you need to do this or you need to get on track. She has that wall of the Capricorn moon wall of like, I need to just like take care of myself and I need to like retreat, put up my wall and like, I'll figure it out. Let me do it.
Yeah.
And then you have Nikki's moon, which is a Pisces moon, which is basically like, I feel all the emotions, too many emotions. Just tell me what to do, and I'll just do it.
Which is interesting because Nikki's the first one to be like, I'm not a hugger, I'm not an emotional person. Right. But I think it's that ego, right? Like, right. It's that interaction of your ego.
Right. Well,
her Sagittarius.
Yeah, definitely. And then Danielle's moon. I mean, we haven't worked long enough with Danielle to know how she emotionally reacts, but I would expect that she would try to be one to throw water on the fire with a Cancer moon, trying to nurture everybody, take care of everybody.
I will say I work with Danielle more than anybody else because she works with me in person and less like with everybody else. And the first thing she says is like, what can I do for you today? Like, what can I do to make your life easier today? Is there something, if I'm like, oh, I have all this stuff to do, she's like, well, what of that can I do for you?
That's very Cancer moon like.
I'm like, that's such a good question to ask me.
Right. But Nikki's moon, by default, because she is a Sagittarius and a Pisces moon, so there's a square there, so she has a challenge there. But she also squares Sarah, so there's a challenge there. So there's a lot of work that needs to get done. When Nikki's emotionally reacting, she just chooses to probably work through it all and say, that's how I can get through it.
Which is interesting because I've not seen Nikki and has not emotionally reacted like to us anyway.
Well, we do a lot of online stuff. You can't see emotions.
This is true.
Yeah.
Nikki's, maybe she's over there stewing it. I don't know.
And then when I'm like feeling insecure, I know that Sarah is one to be like, you're fine. You can do it, because she's that Aquarius moon. I'm Aquarius, so her moon sits right on top of my insecurities, right? Her nurturing side sits on top of my insecurities. So you're like, you can do it. Just do it. You're fine. Just do the things. And then I do.
I do like to tell Nick that I like to point out when he's being insecure. I'm like, you're being insecure.
I saw her at the coffee shop a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, I'm just gonna go home and do nothing. She's like, no, you need to go do something. You should go experience something. Go for a hike. And then I went for a hike, and it was great.
It made me so mad. He was like, I think I'm just gonna go home and take a nap. And I was like, the entire day is yours to see. You have hours of opportunity ahead of you with no work and no child. Why are you napping? He was like, you're right. I shall hike.
Yes.
And hike he did.
And then I did, and it was great. I got a great picture out of it, too.
He did. He sent me a picture, and he was like, look at this. I'm Instagramming my hike. All right. So we see that we play well sun-wise. Yeah. Our moon signs, though, when we're backed into a corner, we see that like some of us will just stop working. Some of us will like kind of I tend to be the one that, I don't want to call myself a bully, but I'll sort of like be like bully you into doing what you need to do.
You try to rally the troops.
Yeah. Oh, Jennifer's asking the question about adoption. So we do a video on that, Jennifer. The link is up above too. It's free, and timing can impact a lot on a birth chart. So timing is really super important. There are some things you can get a generalization of. So it's not. I wouldn't say don't investigate at all, but it's really important. So Nikki says, I feel like Nick definitely is like, wait a minute, everyone is doing things well, and Sarah and I are like, just do the thing. Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Yeah, you guys gotta check those signs out. Nikki says, I always mix those two up. Myers-Briggs of the woo world. Exactly. Nick and I were just saying before this, with my business experience and Nick's astrology knowledge, why aren't we doing corporate trainings? The whole new business just got developed like 5 minutes before we started. Let's see here. Nikki says it's too much in my brain. Nikki says it takes a lot to get me to hit that wall. I usually just quit for the night and take a bath instead. Yeah, Nikki is actually, I would say she's probably the best at identifying when she's done, I think, of all of us. So what when her chart would tell us would confirm that, because I think Nikki is the best of all of us to recognize and say, it's too much today. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it another day, and to step away. Where like
she's probably have to have a lot of learning experiences for that, because she has her sun and moon square each other. So she's probably constantly seen that challenge of like, I'm burning myself out. My emotions are fried. What do I do? I'm just gonna stop.
Because I have the tendency to like pout, like there. I have my boiling limit temperatures. I don't know. It's like I'll just keep going. I just keep going, and then my burnout lasts 5 minutes, and then I'm like, I can't have time for this, and then they just start again. And Nikki is like the best at really saying like, I just can't do this today. It'll get done tomorrow. And she does it. And what I love about Nikki, and so we can, I don't know if you can talk about this with our birth charts and compatibility more, Nick, but she has no problem telling me, like if I say like, okay, we do this on Wednesdays, and Nikki's like, I just can't today. It will get done on Friday. She has no problem saying like, she's not like, there's no like confrontation. It's not a problem. She doesn't try to like shy away from it or hide it, or she's just like, I'm done today. It's gonna get done Friday. And I'm just
I think that that's part of you two being Sagittarius is in general, like, you know, Sagittarius is very direct with their words. So, and you accept that. You appreciate the directness.
I do. I would rather like, I'm like, that's fine. You know, you told me you can't do it. It's fine. You're gonna do it. I feel you. Yeah, like I get it. Can I take a bath too? Like I'm gonna go live with Nikki. Jennifer says, I need Sarah in my life. Get me out of my Cancer homebody self. Oh my gosh, you guys. I am like the whip cracker around here. Sarah, date in December is your birthday. I'm the 14th. Nikki says, I've worked a lot of stressful muggle jobs. The experience is abundant. Nikki says, I can't sugarcoat things. Yeah. And Nikki is yeah. Okay. So we see, so for our moons where we might not work well together, we see some of that where some of us might shy away, where other of us are going to lay it on. And so what does our rising sign play into that, Nick?
So our rising sign tells all about the way that we view the world, you know, so the lens that we kind of all view the world with. You are a Cancer rising, so you see everybody as having all of these emotions, right? Everyone is somebody that you have to take care of.
And your rising sign, it's really like your soul self, right? Like the combination of everything together. It's how you want to journey.
Your soul came into this world, and it's the first view of the world that it got. So it's like the way that it's
how your soul is perceiving.
Yeah, existence. Moving. And so I'm a Gemini rising, so I want to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. When Sarah and Nikki are just go, 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 go. Why are you talking to me? Although it's at times I do feed the Sagittarius fire energy with my communication, and they talk back, but they're still working. I'm not working. Yeah. I'm just talking.
It's funny. We have this group chat we use, and one of us, we're usually talking in every single day of the week, and it'll be like 9:30 on a weeknight, and I'll be like, say something, or Nikki will, and then Nick will be like, oh, hey, I wondered if anybody was going to come here tonight. I'm just like, are you just sitting around?
Kind of, yeah. The way that I work is I work, and then I sit back for an hour, and then I work, and then I sit back for an hour. I've watched a lot of Stargate lately, guys. I'm a nerd.
Anyway, so yeah, he definitely wants to talk. Nikki and I are like, unless there's something good going on, we don't want to talk to you.
And then so then Sarah sees all of these emotions that everyone has, and there's all sorts of things going on underneath that are like, why do people have to feel? Why do people have to feel?
Yeah.
Why?
It's true.
And then Nikki has the Virgo rising, right? So when everything is crazy and hectic around her, she can't really do anything. She can't work. She can't operate. She needs everything to be organized, for things to be functional. And then Anna, being a Scorpio rising, is I don't want anyone to know what's going on until I have to let them know.
You guys can imagine Anna just like, she's like kind of like a gopher. She's just like, I'm here. I'm gone. That's why you guys don't see her that much.
Every once in a while on the chat, she'll just type in, "Oh boy." So then, how else can we talk about this? Because the rising sign's interesting because it starts your whole physical journey.
Yeah. So
right?
where can we see with all our rising signs in terms of, so people that are really new to astrology, we have air signs, water signs, fire signs, and earth signs.
Yes.
So water and fire
Yes.
are at odds, right? So you even think in real life, water puts out fire,
Right.
and fire doesn't want to see water. And how does that work with the other? Like, explain the.
So fire and air, air feeds fire, right? So the ideas of air feed the experience of fire. The emotions of water put out the experience of fire. The down to earth material nature of earth gets scorched by fire. Right, so it creates a dry and arid environment. So when you have a earth sign and a fire sign together, they can kind of be a little bit dry. When you have air on air, it's just a lot of thought, a lot of communication, a lot of air, that air quality. And what else did I miss? Earth and water creates a bit of like fluidity for the stuck and grounded earth, but it could create a bit of muddy, like having trouble working through things. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So when we're looking at all of us, we can look at, and when you're looking at your own compatibility in your own families, your own relationships, people that you work with, like whoever, I don't know, your neighbor that bugs you and you're like, well, you bug me so much, you never did anything wrong to me. We can look at these things, and you can look at yourself too. So like I said this in the beginning, for me, my rising sign is a water sign and my sun sign is a fire sign. So I have like an innate struggle with my ego wanting to be fire and go in the journey and do all these things, and then but my soul, my rising sign, it sees, like I can see, I've always been able to, and this is different than being an empath, I think. For me anyway, I think it's different, but I can see an emotion on somebody. What's different is that it doesn't, like, I don't feel it. I'm not like crippled by it. I don't take it in. I'm very good at putting up a barrier, but it could be because I've been living this life my whole life. But I can, with this Cancer rising, it's like, I've always been able to look at a person and be like, that person's not actually happy, or that person's lying right now, that person's hiding something, or this person's being mean because they're hurting. So I forgive them of being mean. And I've always been able to do that and persevere and rise above.
It's a very Cancer rising thing.
Yeah, but it's contrary though to my sun self, because my sun self wants to be like, buck up and move on, like do something with yourself. Yeah, and my moon too. My moon and my sun are like, come on, you got it. Put on your big girl panties, you're gonna be fine. But my rising sign is like, oh, but I see why she can't do that, because, or like why he is acting this way. I see it and I understand it, but then the rest of me is like, now get over it. I get it, get over it. And that can be hard working with other people, because I have to like really rein that in and realize not everybody can just do that. So as the leader of our team, I have that thing going on. So when we look at compatibility, you've got to look at your own stuff, like where are there these little areas in your own chart, and then how are those interacting with other people, right? And
knowing your chart's the most important part.
Yeah, and then you can see like how you're not helping a situation. So for me, with that going on, like Anna with all her Capricorn energy and her Virgo self and all the stuff she has going on, for me to just be like, fuck up and do it is not going to be helpful for her.
No, that's going to make her put up a bigger wall.
Yeah, that's not going to be helpful at all. So when we're working together as a team, or when you're in relationships, being able to see those compatibility issues can be really helpful. So we know that going into it. Nikki knows that going into it. Nick knows that going into it. Danielle will know that. So we look at all of these things going on. So where we work really well together, I think, in our sun signs, is being able to see each other's egos for what they are, for sure. I think it helps like us working together compatibility wise, because we all know a little bit about astrology and can say like, all right, this person's putting up their red flag.
I was a very reactive creature before astrology.
You're still kind of reactive sometimes.
Well,
just like I'm still kind of like, buck up and move on.
Yeah, but at least I know why.
Yeah, exactly. I see myself when I do it. So what else do we have going on here? Let's talk about, so Danielle's kind of like our sidekick supporter. Is that a role that's fitting for her, looking at her?
Let's take a look.
We talked about her Cancer moon.
Yeah, so all of that Cancer energy definitely helps to strengthen her home, but when it comes to careers, she has Saturn in Scorpio. That's interesting. Well, there's that, Cancer carries that nurturing energy in general. So, being your friend also, I'm sure, helps with that. What can I do for you? How can I take care of you? And that's something that she just has in general, which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Danielle, and I think we can share this because she shared it publicly herself. Danielle's a gestational surrogate for a couple right now as well. So she's giving like the ultimate gift to a family that would like a baby. So she is definitely of service.
And all of that Cancer energy sits on your rising sign. So she's like where you're meeting the world. She's like, how can I take care of that for you?
I love that. Yeah. So how do you, so when you look at this, like how you know this is I'm a Cancer rising when you're looking at your chart, right? And so Danielle has all these planets in Cancer. So having those things in Cancer and that being my rising sign, that's what Nick means about it's sitting on my rising sign. So do we see any of that anywhere else with all of us where like specific things are sitting on our rising?
On other people's rising signs?
Yeah, that might be helpful and interesting.
Let me think. Anna being a Scorpio rising. Well, we all have nothing really sits for us in Scorpio. Although Danielle and Anna working together actually might be pretty good because Saturn would then sit on top of her ascendant, but that might also be a hardship for Anna. Saturn's a very hard planet. It weighs everything down, tests, and makes everything very difficult. But it also creates a fear that you need to be responsible and get to work. So Danielle's Saturn sits on top of Anna's ascendant, so the way that she's viewing the world, like it could give her a little bit of a push to actually, like a little bit of a fear, like I need to get to work, I need to do something. And she has actually been working a lot more lately. Mm-hmm. And then for me, I don't think any of your guys' stuff sits on my ascendant, but y'all sit in my second house, which is money, business, which is great.
Yeah, Nick and I, our charts have an interesting,
yes.
So
your stellium is in Sagittarius, which is in my 7th house. My stellium is in Capricorn, which is in your 7th house. So what stelliums are these large groupings of planets. And the 7th house is partnerships, business opportunities, things, partnerships.
Sitting next to you.
So yeah, exactly.
Working together.
So there's a lot, especially with all the planets that we have. We both have Saturn in each other's 7th house, so we both feel responsible to work for each other and to help each other and to push each other to keep working. But it just creates a strong bond.
Yeah, and then my Aquarius moon yells at your Aquarius sun.
Yeah,
get your butt in gear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then my Libra moon's like, oh, can't we just talk about it? You're not being fair.
Yeah.
And then for Nikki, she's a Virgo rising, so Anna's actually stellium sits right on top of her ascendant. So that would look more or less like Nikki sees all the stuff, like all the Anna like being like, I just need to organize. Nikki sees that and she's like, yeah, but, and she has all of this like Sagittarius stuff, like, yeah, but I know where you're coming from, but you just got to do something.
Yeah. So we have some people that are confused. So you guys can check out, if you don't know anything about astrology, this is going to be confusing for you right now. This is going to be like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
So if you know nothing at all, I would recommend looking at, well, firstly, the videos in the link above, the link, there's a link in the description. Go there. They're 8 short videos. The longest one's like 5 minutes, I think, maybe 6. Watch those. They're right there at that link. You can also find them on our YouTube channel, and there's a series on our YouTube channel called Sun, Moon, Rising from last summer, which talks about sun signs, moon signs, and rising signs. And we have a free astrology class starting on February 1st, too. So if you're totally like, what on earth is going on, watch those videos and then watch the other ones on our YouTube channel as well. And you can get your birth chart at astro.com. We're actually working on getting one on our site with Nick's interpretation, with Nick's own interpretations on it. Yeah, he's going to take him forever probably, but you know, I don't know. By the time we're 80, it'll be up there. So astro.com is where you can find your birth chart to find everything else. If you only know your sun sign, you can find it there. And then, like I said, those videos are going to help you out a lot. So basically what we're talking about is taking the information from your birth chart, your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, are the big ones, and looking at how they interact with the people in your life for compatibility. Because so often we're just like, oh, we're both fire signs, or like we're air and water, or like whatever. And we look at that, but there's so much more that's happening, which we're giving you examples of right now to see when you look at compatibility, it's so much more than just being like, oh, we're both fire signs. Like I always like to talk about my personal life, but an interesting one here, my husband and I are both fire signs. We're different fire signs, but we're both Aquarius moons also. So we're both fire. Like we're both like, you know, do this, I'm right, I'm right.
Totally different ways.
Yeah, in totally different ways. And then when we're both backed into a corner, we both react in the same way, which is not good. Like we're both fighting fire in the same way, you know? So there's like so much to learn about communication, and so much growth to be done there. I think my Cancer rising puts me in an advantage because I can see like, okay, this is why this person's upset. But then ultimately when I'm backed in the corner, still, I just like, you know, it's that Aquarius moon that comes out, and it's my job to sort of work on that Cancer rising part and like focus in on that. I forget Kevin's rising sign.
Kevin's a Capricorn rising.
Is it Anna a Capricorn rising?
No. Jacob's a Capricorn rising.
Oh my gosh, I can't keep them all straight, people. So like we can look at those and see the lessons that's happening, and that's more than the sun sign.
For instance, Aries versus Sagittarius. Aries just wants to act like that, experience that fire in the moment. Sagittarius, it wants to experience, but it wants to go somewhere. It wants to do something. It wants to have an end goal. So that's can be the fire on the fire problem.
Yeah. So he's asking, is rising sign same as the North Node?
No. So the North Node is our destiny. It's what
Morning, Jenny.
It's what we are working to become in this lifetime, right? Working towards attributes and traits that we reach with maturity. And the ascendant is just the way that we view the world, like the lens, the colored glasses, so to speak, that we view the world with. And the rising sign, you can see it's on the left-hand side of that chart. That's that straight line all the way to the left. And the North Node is like a little N. It's like an N with like two balls on it.
Which we're actually going to talk about a little bit in our free class. We're going to touch on.
Yes.
The North Node and the South Node coming up.
This free class is going to be quite the experience, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're changing it up. It's February 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I'll put the sign up.
1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th
of February. Yeah.
That's quite soon.
Nick's birthday is on February 14th. He's a Valentine's Day baby. Two holidays, one shot.
This is a big year. It's my Saturn return.
Okay, then. All right, so compatibility. So we talked a little bit about things on our rising signs. We shared about our houses. Anything else interesting that you want to drop the ball on compatibility-wise? Oh, our stelliums. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Like just how our stelliums? I mean,
yeah, like what a stellium is, just quick. And then
yeah, so a stellium is like a grouping of 5 planets, and 4 to 5 planets. And basically what happens is that there kind of just becomes, instead of having individual kind of energies, like your Mars wants to desire experience and your Venus wants to be loved, those two, when they're on top of each other, they end up working together. So the desire, what you desire and the way that you want to be loved are one and the same, right? So when you have 5 planets, it puts all of those energies right on top of each other and sandwiches them all together. And it basically puts like a huge focus on that part of ourselves, a huge focus on that energy in our life, and we end up coming out with a sense of self-importance.
So you want to share about our stelliums and how that
yeah,
can
so
impact each other?
Sarah's a Sagittarius stellium, Nikki's a Sagittarius stellium. So there's that fire, that wanting to experience and to go and to learn and all those sorts of things. Sarah actually has Saturn in that stellium. I don't think Nikki does. She does not. So Sarah is a little bit more goal oriented and, working oriented, willing to put in the work, where Nikki sees a just opportunity and just wants to go and just do it and just experience it. But then I have my Capricorn stellium, which is basically like, the sign after Sagittarius. So Sagittarius wants to go and experience. Capricorn is the wall that says, you guys got to do the work. This isn't the right work you're doing. You need a plan. Is there any plan? I don't know what's going on. What's happening?
Nothing bugs me more than when Nick's stellium tries to tell me what to do in my stellium, like my stellium self, and Nick's like, I don't think it's the right thing though. Like, I think there's something we're missing. I think that there's a piece you haven't uncovered yet. And I'm just like,
well, because there isn't. And what is one beautiful thing that you have about your stellium is that you can just do something and make it something. Whereas like I need like to look at the big picture and be like, okay, and then I can figure out each individual piece that I can work to. But you just like, and you know what?
I know, it's fine. I'm just saying, this is my Saturn.
There's our compatibility
there. This is my sun sign, and then his moon sign. My moon sign is crushing his sun sign right now, because it's like nothing. But his stellium self, and he's like telling me these missing things, or like I'm not seeing the big picture or something. And then my Sagittarius ego with my Sagittarius stellium just wants to like smack his Capricorn stellium out of the way. Be like, I'll show you.
And then you have Anna's Virgo stellium, which basically is like, it's its own thing, because my stellium, it is my stellium and her and Sarah's stellium end up on the top of the chart, which have to do with like things with other people, right? So, but Anna's has to do with herself, so she's constantly having to second guess herself, unfortunately. And with me, I have that Capricorn thing going, well, we need a plan. Anna's like, yeah, we do. And I was like, because they try, and they're both earth signs, so they both work well together. There's no change, right, which isn't great for ourselves. But as far as like, making Anna's Virgo-ness feel a little bit better, I think that with my like, yeah, you're right, there is no plan. She doesn't know what she's doing, she's just doing. And then Anna's stellium and Sarah's stellium create a challenge. They square each other. So that's where you can see that.
Yes. And Nikki's stellium.
And Nikki's stellium's the same way. It's the same way as yours. It's the same thing.
That's why we get along so well, I think.
It is.
And then Danielle, she doesn't quite have a stellium, but she's got three planets in Cancer and one on the cusp. So she's got a chunk of. She
does. She is opposite, basically, of my stellium. So whatever she's doing, I have no idea. I just hope that it's leading to something, and that Sarah feels more fulfilled for it. And then for
when Danielle comes over, I'm like a kid waiting for Santa. I like peek through my curtain. I have a curtain over here, and then like, is that Danielle? I heard a noise. Is it Danielle? I think it's Danielle. I think it was a door closing.
And then
it's just my neighbor chucking wood, and then I'm like, oh,
well, there's no connection for you, so there's no like struggle, there's no challenge. It just is. I mean, and it sits on your ascendant, so it's got to feel nice.
It does. It's like Santa, I'm telling you. Like, I think that was her door. At my door. Is she here? Can I get her some tea or coffee? How can I make her?
And her moon is in Cancer too, so her moon is like sitting right on top of there, being like, I'm just gonna take care of you. I'm just gonna do it.
No, it's so good. She walks in, she's like, well, what can I take off your plate? It's the best question ever. I love that question. I was gonna ask you something else before I got distracted about my love for Danielle and her being like Santa Claus, and now I can't remember what it is. So when we're looking at stelliums and sun signs, so this goes back to what I was saying about compatibility and kind of the myth around it. And when we look at our sun signs, and we're like, oh, well, I'm Earth and he's fire, and this is why this happens, or I'm Earth and she's Earth, and this is why this happens. Why that's such a just a not appropriate way to go about this, because if you do have a stellium, or this other person does, that has the potential to just like even though
the whole thing.
Though I have the water sign as my rising sign and a fire sign as my sun sign, and I talked about how that's at odds, right? Like what I first experienced, what my soul knows to be true, is at odds with my ego all the time. But I have so much Sagittarius fire that I feel like that kind of maybe that's why I'm better at like blocking that Cancer rising, where I'm better at saying like instead of, maybe it's why I don't feel people's emotions so much as I'm able to recognize them, perhaps. I don't know. But I think that stellium, me having that fire stellium, definitely like over, like I feel like my Cancer rising is like droplets of water rather than like washing out. That's what I feel like.
I could see that.
I think my fire, it's like you're like throwing sprinkles out of a wildfire. That's what I feel like.
It's very true.
but like, do you want to give an example of other people's stelliums? How like that answer or that energy in terms of compatibility, like how that might outweigh.
Well, the thing is interesting as far as you and Nikki go, is that not only do you have stelliums in these things, but your sun's also in them. So it creates even more of an expression of that stellium, more of an expression of that energy. So that's definitely where that would play out. And then with Nikki being a Virgo rising, she's constantly kind of already analyzing the world around her. So then when she just speaks and just goes, it carries probably more of that dry, sarcastic Sagittariusness than you do, being a Cancer rising.
That's like, I'm so dry.
Yeah, but I think that like on the surface, like when you go to a place that you're not comfortable in, you aren't very dry and sarcastic. You try to like be like, I do try that Aquarius moon, that fitting in.
I try to behave appropriately.
Right. And then with my Capricorn stellium, creates a lot of fear that I'm not being responsible enough, or I'm not doing the right thing, or not doing the right work. And so my Gemini rising has to talk about it. I need to communicate. Am I doing the right thing? Look at this. Can you look at this? Is this right? Can you just tell me? Am I doing it right? Am I going in the right direction?
It's like, I want to see it.
And then you have Anna's Virgo stellium that is constantly second guessing herself, and am I perfect enough? Is the world around me perfect? Am I doing the right things? Is there a better way to do this? Is this actually even helping me in the long run? And then you have her Scorpio ascendant, which basically says, world ain't gonna know nothing about me until I want it to. And then we kind of get this flood of Anna stellium of like, guys, help me. Help me figure it out.
Yeah. So it's interesting. What would you say, like, overall about Team TSE, we call ourselves? Nikki and I were teasing, making jokes last night that we could probably win a war if it was just the two of us against definitely a word war. We were like, we're gonna turn to like street rappers, and we're gonna win the battle.
What would I say about Team TSE?
Yeah, like how are we compatible? How are we not, based on all of this?
I'd say that we all fit each other very well, but we all have a lot of like that Mercury, like Sagittarius, like communication energy, and that dry nature to us, like, because Capricorn's all dry, Sagittarius is all dry, Virgo's all dry. So we can have that tendency to be a little bit harsh with our words with each other, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise,
but like in a night, we're like very dry, sarcastic. So I feel like a very sensitive
family,
sort of,
so.
Well, even with like Nikki, like she's family now, but like even like I feel like, this sounds so mean to say, but I feel like a very sensitive person would not
do well with us.
Do well working with us. Not that we're mean, but we're just like dry to the point.
And we
like,
make a lot of jokes.
Get off your patootie, like, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like if somebody was very sensitive,
we have the opportunity to go places. Who knows where?
Just because Santa's here, Danielle. She's not here today, though. Danielle doesn't come over on Thursdays. It's my least favorite weekday now. Let's see here. There are a few questions. Jennifer is asking, do you use whole house interpretations?
Whole house interpretations? In terms of, do you mean like the equal house system? Or are you talking about, that's what I would think that you would mean if you mean equal house system. I don't do the equal house system now.
Let's see here. Jenny's asking, how do you identify a stellium? So Nick said, I think there's some controversy. I think some people say it's 4 planets. Some people say it's 5. Some people say 3 is a big deal.
4 planets, same house, same sign.
That's Nick's view. So 4 planets, same house, same sign.
Although I'm sure that there's a definition somewhere in the world of what it is.
Yeah, so
3. Yeah, I've heard 3 being called another term, but I mean, when it's 4 or more, you really see like a huge competition for like the ascendant, which is the way that you view the world. It just puts so much energy in one spot.
Let's see here. Okay, so Patty asked, what's a stellium? So we talked about that. I think you got it now. Yeah, let's see here. So Steph says I have 2 stelliums with 3 planets. Yeah, so Nick reads 3 planets as something different, and he looks at 4 or 5 planets as a stellium. What was the word? Nick was trying to type between
syzygy is the word that I heard of it called. Syzygy.
Syzygy.
Tried spelling it like a syzygy or something.
Yeah, he was like, that's not how you spell that. Let's see here. So Jen has 3. So I think that's still like, that's a lot of energy. So like with Danielle, she has 3 and then 1 on the cusp.
Probably doesn't put as much self-importance in there, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that the 4 of us have stelliums.
Yeah.
So for sure.
I mean, they only happen like I think once or twice a decade or something like that. It doesn't happen all the time.
Well, Nikki and I are both 5. Aren't we 5 planets, both of us?
I'm pretty sure you're 5 planets. Nikki is 1, 2, 3, 4, and like a bunch of asteroids, in her south node as well. So you need to act a little bit less like your stellium there, Nikki. Move into using some of your words.
Nikki will be like, I'll show you some words. You want words? I'll give you words. You're gonna wish you didn't ask for my words. So Christina's saying, is a 3-planet interpretation much different than a stellium?
I mean, it's all, you're just reading it. I mean, you can call it a stellium. A stellium is just a word, right? You're just reading 4 planets grouped together, all conjunct. And that's what you're doing for 3 planets as well. So it's just about how you're reading the energy.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, and this is one of those, and I think that this goes back to what I said about looking at just your sun sign as being a myth. So looking at like a big looking at a big planet grouping, as being like, I don't want to say it's a myth, but you have to look at everything else that's going on. So like maybe you have 4 planets in one sign, but if you have 4 planets like in a water sign, but then your sun's not in there, your moon's not in there, everything else is equally spread around, I feel like you might not see the impact of that as
really intelligent.
As much. I know, I learned a lot by hanging out with you guys. Whereas like if you have like 4 planets grouped in one house, one sign, and we're calling it a stellium, but like your sun's in there, your Saturn's in there, your planets or your moon's in there, and like, it's like all like on one half of your chart, like that's going to be a different thing than if you have 4 planets in one sign, but you don't have your sun, your moon, your Saturn's not in there, like it's everything else is evenly spread out. There's like, so just looking at a stellium in a vacuum is not, going to help either. So it's so helpful to sort of be able to look at the whole chart and see like, all right, well, this is this big energy, but there's this that's balancing that, so we're good there. Or like you have this big energy and there's nothing balancing it, so like, I don't know, you should like
look at that. Is that Jupiter in Aquarius? Danielle's got Jupiter in Aquarius sitting right on your moon and right on my sun.
She is Santa.
She is Santa. Because Jupiter is the Santa planet. It brings abundance and luck and opportunity. And my Jupiter sits right on your ascendant.
See?
Yeah. Lots of good stuff.
There we go.
So much compatibility.
Randy says, I have Aries stellium. Learn something new every day. Jenny says, I have 3 with a bunch of asteroids and the south node with 1 planet on the cusp, I think is over.
Yeah, so I mean, there's tons of energy there. Enough that you can definitely say that it plays a huge part in your life, just like any stellium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in terms of compatibility again, then like Jenny, if you were interested in like, okay, so how does my family tick? Why do we keep having this conflict? You could like look at all of those, look at everybody's and see like what Nick's doing. Okay, well, Danielle's Jupiter is sitting on my moon, his sun. So like that's a cool thing to invite her in with us. Like, come here, abundance. Or like, you know, your stellium is on this rising, this person's rising or whatever. And you can see where that could be, you know, like conflict, or like where you're just not able to stop and hear each other and see each other, you know, very well, and improve in that way. So we can look at our relationships and hopefully make strides to make them better. But if you're starting a new relationship, you can look at it. If you have a new child, you can look at those things.
You look at more or less the inner planets, so the Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, and Venus for interpreting children's charts, because the outer planets aren't really useful because they're more societal like things going on. But,
and like, or if you're like if you have adult children that are getting married,
you could use the outer planets at that point.
Yeah, instead of premarital counseling, you can have premarital astrology sessions. You're like, listen, this is where you're set up for failure. Like, buy this book and learn to communicate. Pre-marriage. And then with like we looking at coworkers and stuff too. I think it actually really, it might sound strange, but really helps us to know the astrology bits, because we can see when another person's retreating and it helps that we are, while we are like family members, it helps that we are in a work position. We're not like typically feeling backed into a corner, and we are able to take the breath and be like, all right, this person needs space at this point. Like, this is their sign that they need space, and we can see why. And so we're just gonna let it go.
At least once a week. She needs some space. I'm just gonna like let her do her thing. I'll just keep working, and then maybe I'll bug her again in a year or two.
Well, and it helps. Like, this is gonna sound really bad, but I can see when Nick is on, like when Nick wants confirmation of something. Like, I see it. You know, I'll be like, he just wants me to tell him he's doing the right thing, and I see it, and I know it, and I know it to be true because of astrology. And I know like our sun moon interaction, so I can just take that moment where it might be bugging me, and I'm like, my stellium self wants to be like, just figure it out, but my knowing self, learning this stuff, can say to Nick, okay, yes, that looks good, you're on the right track, keep it up. You know, but like that might probably sounds weird, but when you look at compatibility, that's what you
not
learn.
Rude at all.
But that's what you learn when you do compatibility. Like, you learn how to, not only do you see where you are and aren't compatible, you can learn to better interact with each other through investigating compatibility in your birth charts. So I hope that example,
how to navigate reactions,
wasn't rude and was like,
no,
that makes sense. All right. So asteroids are pretty cool little suckers there. They tell all sorts of extra bits and pieces about us. Let's see here. My comments are backwards, so it wouldn't let me go through. So Christina says almost all my inner planets are in Aries. Almost all my outer are in Libra. Rachel says all but 2 of my planets are in the bottom half. Yeah, you can look at your chart in sections too, and like the first 6 houses versus the last 6.
They all get very in depth. We could go really heavy into that into the class.
Yeah, and like where you have more or less, just like at a glance, can tell you quite a bit. Oh no, Adam's screaming. Jenny says there's no conflict when they listen to me. I feel the same way. If everybody would just listen to what I'm saying, then everything would be perfect. Steph says, is there a significance to all planets being on one half of the chart? Only thing on the empty side of my chart is North Node, Chiron, and asteroids. So it's kind of weird talking about like the first 6 houses represent something different than the last
inside
6.
versus outside.
Yeah. Let's see here. And Katie, how do you find out if you have a stellium? Yeah, Katie, just count the planets in one sign in the same house. That's how. So you would look at your chart, and I would show you, but I don't think it's going to show up. And so there's like these lines, like pie pieces. So if you have, so I guess like 3 or more, we call it 4 or more. But you can look for just a lot of energy in one place. So if there's a lot of planets in the same house, that's, you know,
there's a huge focus.
make note of it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Stephanie, I'm super excited to start the astrology class again. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be sweet.
And especially because we learned so much. It's taken us, some of you joined us for over a year ago now, and it's taken some time to figure out like how we're going to deliver it, how it works out well.
I'm super excited for the
They've
next
made a lot of changes actually, so
upcoming thing.
yeah, it's pretty
Using
pretty
your
cool.
ideas, the Sagittarius ideas, taking all of those, recreating them the old Aquarius way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's compatibility.
Yeah.
Where we work well together, where we don't, but we're pretty good at identifying where we don't work well together.
There's at least enough duty and responsibility for each other that we let it go.
Yeah. As long as Nikki and I keep our words to ourselves sometimes, then everyone's good. Yeah, so do you guys have any questions about compatibility in general? I mean, we're not going to look at like everybody's charts and things like that, but in terms of like what to look for compatibility, like what are some common things we ask? So, or we see. Do you know?
I mean, I could give you just like the typical, I mean, not to go back into the sun thing, but like for instance, suns, if they create what's called a triangle or a trine, that means that they work well together, right? So if your sun is in an earth sign and there's another sun in an earth sign, they work well together, but there's no change, right? If your sun, it squares, I mean, this is all stuff that you need to know the basics of astrology for, but if your sun creates a square, that creates a challenge in the relationship, but that also creates growth. And if there's an opposition, that means that the two, like if you're a Cancer or whatever, you're not a Cancer, but a Cancer versus a Capricorn, those two signs are opposite. The life journey is to figure out how to make that work together, right? You can be in a relationship with anyone, you can have compatibility with anybody, but it's about figuring out how to take care of each other and what each other needs.
Yeah. And you can do that, like we said, with in romantic relationships, in work relationships, friends, that neighbor that bugs you and you just don't know why. Be like, listen, you just give me all of your birth information.
Where was your moon?
You don't need to
when
know.
You were born.
You don't need to know the details, neighbor. You just need to know where you were born, what time you were born, the date. And I would like to know why you bug me.
I'm
so
sensing
much.
Your emotional reactions. Please tell me more.
Yeah, Jenny, it does. Level 2 is in there.
So air and water can be compatible, but I mean, they don't really affect each other, right? Water kind of just sits there and then air goes over it. So there's no like severe interaction, whereas like, you know, water puts out fire. But the air, right, the words that air is constantly trying to speak, water can get cold from air constantly blowing on it. So people's ideas can constantly feel overwhelming and saying there's not enough warmth in your emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Confirmation.
See? My moon is happy to oblige. I want to scroll down. It's bugging me. Let's see here. Alicia just started looking up her birth information, I know. Jen's got so much fire. Sun, moon, and rising at this point. I feel like I burned down everything I touch. My mom is a Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. And I'm going to tell you, that's a lot of...
God love her.
That's a lot of journeys.
That's a lot of
like, a lot of quick reactions. It's a lot of, let's do this
now. A lot of fire.
Let's do this new thing.
She has a great like bounty like in her like interactions with the world. Like everything is just like, oh, look at this. I went to the consignment store. Look at this.
My mom must think everything is awesome. Like she could find, I mean, it could be like a $700 purse, and she'd be like, look at this, and it could be like a 50-cent. It could be nothing. She could find a purse on the side of the road that somebody ran over, and she'd be like, look at this. My mom like does not discriminate on things that are awesome. she'll be like, I got this new job and it's totally random, and I'm like, and it's awesome, it's my calling. And then she'll get like another job and she'll be like, and it's my calling. And I'm just like, Mom, I love you so much, Sagittarius. Like, even for my Sagittarius stellium, it's a lot happening. Jennifer says, my family has every element. My house is chaos. Yeah. Well, you want to look at that too, you know, and like see where it's happening. Like I said, my daughter is a Cancer, and I have a Cancer rising. So like, how is that impacting? And then like, how does my stellium, like my Sagittarius, I have so much Sagittarius, and my son's in that stellium, which is like enhancing that. And so it's like, I see her emotions, and I'm able to be like, I see that you're frustrated, you know, but I just want to be like, there is no point to this frustration.
Her being a Cancer, right? So it sits on your ascendant, like you said, you see that, but you try to nurture that. And but she's not a Cancer moon, right? She's a Cancer sun. So this is her ego feeling insecure, and so she's reacting with her emotions. And so you need to take her moon sign and say, how can I nurture your emotions? Yeah.
We haven't pulled Scarlett's chart in a while.
Because I don't have anything nice to say ever.
I know. He's always like, there's so much challenge here. And I'm like, stop telling me about it. And my son's a Taurus. He's just the cutest little Taurus.
He is the cutest little Taurus.
He is just like fine. He just smiles. Even when he's throwing a tantrum, you're like, oh, those teeth.
He could not see me for like 3 weeks. I walk up and he just has the biggest smile on his face.
Yeah, he's our most happy. He's just like so chill. I hope he stays that way. Let's see, Katerina. But what if they don't know their birth time? It bugs me. I need to know your birth time. Find your birth certificate. Yeah, that's hard because we talk about this in one of those free videos that's in the link above. So check those out. We talk about timing, and there's so many little shifts that can happen just on a few minutes. But if you don't know your birth time, I mean, if you know, I think the next best thing is knowing like morning or afternoon. And some of those planets that move more slowly, you can get a generalization of like what sign they were in, what house they were in, maybe not the degrees, but still get like an overarching idea.
And for compatibility, you just need to know where they were. You can look up on their birthday where those planets were and then stick them in your chart and see how they're affecting you and their compatibility with you. Yeah.
So I mean, like the next best thing is being like, the story goes, I was born the early hours of the morning, or like I was born almost the next day. If you can figure out, like at least that is helpful.
Right.
So let's see here. Trina says my granddaughter is a Pisces and has 2 stelliums, one in Pisces, the other in Aquarius. Rachel's full of fire and Scorpio. My boyfriend is mainly air. It does cause some issues, but I'm working on it. See, and it's so helpful, like when you know who's doing what. Randy, Chiron wouldn't count for a stellium, right?
Chiron? Again, it's like you know, stellium's just a word. It's just a word, guys.
Yeah. It's a grouping, like a big energy grouping.
Yeah.
Remember astrology? It is like a, you know, it's math and science also, but there's different types of astrology too. So like if you were to learn Vedic astrology, they're going to be like,
the whole chart's different.
Yeah, and they're like, you're not this, you're this, and then you're like, mind blown. What? So I'm like, I'm definitely a Sagittarius. Now whatever your, although Vedic astrology is pretty cool though too to dive into. Let's see here. So Jennifer says, my son is the same kind of Taurus. It's so nice. It is. I wish we were all Tauruses. And we could just like be cute and earthy together. Randy says, my son is not the cutest little Taurus. I have a cute little Aries boy. Yeah, I have a cute little Aries husband, so I can probably relate. Let's see here. Right, I have a big energy grouping, but it's asteroids included. Asteroids are still, you know, important to what's going on. So don't discount an asteroid. Yeah. Anyway, so that's compatibility for you. I hope you guys got some insights and some food for thought to consider with your own charts, your family members, your coworkers, your friends. I think just as a like last minute thought too, if you have like as we grow through life, relationships shift and change, right? We move away from people. And we'll have like those friends we were friends with like 5 years ago, and now we're just like, I don't know, I don't really have anything to talk to you about. Compatibility, you can see that there too, like where you're journeying and maybe where that person's not journeying. And as we're moving through, like what's the next thing for us, we can see that in our birth chart. So looking at compatibility can sometimes answer those things as well. Okay, go Taurus. Yeah, I think Adam's my favorite sign of all of us.
Yeah, I'll steal him.
I know.
I'll
Really
just take
cute.
him home.
He's so stinking cute. All right, that's it. So if this was like a new language to you and you're like, I don't know anything, and now I'm more confused than ever, and I don't even want to talk to you guys ever again, check out the video link in the description because there are some free, they're short, they're really short, and they tell you what you need to know about timing, degrees, what else is in there? We talked about, the difference in sun signs versus moon signs, sun signs versus rising signs, decision making using astrology. That's there. And then on our YouTube channel, you can find the sun, moon, and rising videos we did, the classes from last June, I think. Those are on our YouTube channel, and that will help you get started because your sun, moon, and rising are kind of like
the big three.
The big three, yeah. And then everything else, you can see how it plays in from there.
Yes.
But thanks for hanging with us. It was fun to put all our dirty laundry out there for you guys. Next time you see us in the Facebook group, like making comments at each other, you can be like, oh, I think I know why they're saying that. I think I know what's going on there. Sarah Stellium's railroading people.
You guys could put me in a fit of panic with my Capricorn stellium.
I know. It happens a lot. Yeah. Anyway, cool. All right. Thank you guys for hanging with us. Thank you, Nick, for coming over and getting on the spot because he had not prepared for this. So.
Nope. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So check out that link above and you'll get your 2019 retrograde chart if you haven't printed that out yet. And it's a handy chart. You can plaster it wherever it needs to be plastered, screenshot it on your phone, and you'll know when all the retrogrades are coming up. Right now we're in a straight and narrow.
We are.
Like
There's
happens,
no
right?
retrograde. Well, I like that post that it says that,
I know everyone's
it's a rare alignment.
alignment.
It kind of happens every year that there's nothing retrograde.
At
least for a little bit.
That's another video. I'm on a tangent. That's another, someone stopped the stellium. There's another video in there, and it's when to not buy into the astrology hypery. And there's another hypery coming up for this weekend. We have the full
super blue blood wolf
whatever.
moon.
Yeah, no, it's a super blood wolf moon and Leo, and people will be like, this is the only time in 8 million years this is going to happen. And you're like, yeah, that's cool. And it is cool. It's cool that there's nothing retrograde. But what matters is how that impacts you. Like what that means for you. That's what makes it hypey or not hypey, because sometimes these hypey things could have actually no impact on you whatsoever. And we talk about it in this video. It's like 4 minutes long, I think. But we talk about how it is relevant because we're a collective energy, right? You're impacted by everybody you encounter during the day. Everybody at the bank, the grocery store, your job, like home. Their energy is impacting yours. So if they're impacted by what's happening, you're going to feel some of that energy. But at the end of the day, if it's not on your chart in a certain way, then the hypery is just not hypey for you.
Doesn't help.
Yeah, and
hurts.
so learning astrology can really help with that. So like if you're a person that has like, 3 retrogrades in your chart and nothing's retrograde right now, well, yeah, that's cool. But like your opportunities for learning and growth like aren't being highlighted right now. So for you, you don't want to be like, ah, man, such and such. Like you don't want to be like, oh, that's swell that nothing's in retrograde, because like when your 3 things are in retrograde, like that's like you're always in that retrograde. You're always learning. And when it's highlighting, it's like more can feel stressful and chaotic, but your soul loves that. Your soul is like, I'm learning and I'm growing.
This is where I live all the time, guys.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's what I mean. So hypery. Check out our little video on hypery too. I've been real big on hypery and buzz lately. Just, I don't know why it bugs me. Maybe I should investigate that a little bit. But yeah.
Something to take into your astrology practice.
Eclipse is pretty cool. That's what I mean. It's cool. Like all these things are cool. It's cool to see. It's cool to hear about. It's cool to learn about. But like I just get so bugged when people are like, this is the rarest alignment and you must manifest all the things on this day. And I'm like, no, maybe you don't need to manifest anything today. Maybe you should just take a nap because you need to manifest
No,
next
I don't
week.
believe you'll ever say that to anybody.
Yeah, no,
I don't think
I
you'd
am,
be one to say
I
take a
am
nap.
kind of anti-naps, to be honest. Christina lives in a constant state of retrograde. Jennifer doesn't know how to tell if I have retrogrades. Must have Nick to chart properly. And Randy has so many retrogrades. Yeah, some people have lots of retrogrades. Some people have none. Some people have one. It's all different.
Came into this life with a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good
It's a
thing.
good
though.
thing. Yeah.
Hanged man. Flip yourself over. See things differently.
Wonderful.
All right. Check out those videos and get your 2019 retrograde chart if you haven't yet. And keep your eyes peeled because we'll start the signups for our free class probably soon. I have the sign up thing.
You
ready
do
to
the
go.
things and I follow along.
It's ready to go.
I hope that I do it right.
I just have to hit click, show the world. All right, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Make it an enchanted one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.